Hey guys, Kirsten Robertson here, doing my entry one on job interviews. Interviewing and hiring can be very daunting for new employees. Having to find the employees that fit well with the culture as well as sharing your company's values can be very difficult. So, today we're going to walk through the benefits of recruitment agencies, the interview process, as well as following up with the candidate that we so choose at the end. Finding the right candidate can be very difficult, simply because it can be hard to find. Recruitment agencies are there to be very beneficial for companies large and small. They save your business time as well as the initial steps in the hiring process. One less thing you have to do as a company there. There's no more sifting through applications. Recruitment agencies will ensure that the time you spend on the application is time worthwhile as they seed through all of the right candidates and see which one would best fit your company. Recruitment agencies also have many networks. So each consultant has a potential to leverage their networks to help connect you with the right people. Small companies often find that recruitment agencies are very helpful for them as they do not have the expertise nor the resources in-house to help hire the correct candidates. So they often find a recruitment agency to help them with that process. Some of these agencies may include PI Worldwide, which is now considered the Predictive Index. It was founded in 1955 by Arnold Daniels. And according to the predictiveindex.com, Daniel's lifetime passion has always become solving business problems through the lens of understanding individuals. So through his research and techniques, this has been able to help companies narrow down candidates to be hired for their positions. The PI Behavioral Assessment is an EFPA certified assessment that takes about 6 minutes to complete. So it measures a person's motivating drives as well as needs. So the company will be able to decide if their motivating needs and drives match their culture. And if not, then they can just weed those candidates out. So it kind of helps them determine which candidate would be best there. So thousands of businesses around the globe use it to hire employees all the time. So it helps pinpoint that ideal candidate for the role and the job description there. So the PI behavioral assessment also saves you time. It generates interview questions that you can ask during the interview process that are specific to the candidate. And then it helps evaluate each of those candidates and pinpoint the areas of caution and the areas that they most succeed in and are their strengths as well. So the candidates are then determined from the PI assessment and then are notified for face-to-face interviews with the hiring manager. So the recruiter might call or email to set up a time then that works best for the interviewer and the interviewee, to set up a time to be able to get together and do a face-to-face interview and go through those questions there. When a recruiter is notified, then what we have to do is the interviewee and the interviewer get together. The interviewer always has to remember when going into the interview to keep an open mind and go into it with a positive attitude. It's also good to focus on the candidate themselves. It's good to sit down prior to the interview. And the most important thing is to research that candidate. Go on social media, research their LinkedIn, their Facebook, Twitter, as well as reviewing their resume to completely understand and focus on that candidate before we go into the interview. So while some job interviews take a fairly unusual approach to interview questions, some take a more direct approach that are most common and related to the job responsibilities of the job that you're hiring for. So some of these questions might be, tell me more about yourself. What are your weaknesses? What are some of your strengths? Why should we choose you to be a part of this company and a part of this team? And where do you see yourself in 5 years? Do you see yourself here? Do you see yourself just as a short-term, long-term range? Kind of some of those questions that are more open-ended. So asking open-ended questions can allow the candidate to think more outside the box, as well as give them the opportunity to do the talking. You want to make sure they feel more comfortable and are more open with you that way, and not so nervous. So the more they can talk, the better. The PI assessment also gives example questions like stated before, so they're able to ask those questions during the interview process as well. Those are more directed towards a candidate and aren't as vague like the other ones that we discussed earlier as well. So while sitting through the interview, it's also important to watch the candidate's body language and watch their level of excitement. So many employers do everything that they possibly can to hire the candidate that is excited and passionate about their company and their mission. So a sincere interest in the organization goes a long ways. It shows that there's a lot of dedication and commitment there. So a lot of recruiters know they shouldn't have to settle for someone who's qualified on paper, but more so that someone who has interest in the company and wants to be a part of the team. So once the candidate is determined, it is then important to follow up with the interview and the candidate. So the average time between the job and the interview offer is 2 to 4 weeks, depending on the company. So once the interview phase is complete, the company may be having trouble making a decision. It could be a tough decision between 2 or 3 candidates, and they're having a hard time deciding. So a situation like this could stall the process with the final agreement is reached. It just kind of depends on the time frame there. But upon hire, the HR person sets up a new recruitment personnel file for that candidate, as well as starting with the application, the resume, any notes that may have been taken during the interview process, and then collects paperwork from there to complete and prepares employee manuals, company handbooks, safety policies, health and safety trainings, anything instructions related to the job that the new candidate may have to complete. So the HR person may conduct the orientation of the new employee as well. So sitting through job interviews, as we can tell, can be very daunting and nerve-wracking for both the interviewer and the interviewee. It's not just candidates that it can be nerve-wracking for. Interviewers are just as prone to making pressure-induced mistakes as well, trying to decide which candidate is best for their company in all reality. So today we looked at the benefits of recruiting agencies for both large and small companies. We did a short walkthrough on job interviews in the beginning, through the middle, and as well as communicating with the candidate once they are chosen. So I hope you learned something today. Thank you for listening.